Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, a live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, a.k.a. Caliban, and you got to check out my new band, Extreme Empathy Deficit. We're getting pretty good and opening in shows all over the place, so check us out. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom on the Chronic Drift Network. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Ella, what temperature is it in London?
I think our low today was a chilly 34.
Oh, that sounds sweltering compared to where I am.
And we're supposed to be up to 50 in a couple of days.
Boy. Shorts weather. That sounds so fantastic.
Yeah, it really is.
Things have been a lot different where I am and where you're from. We've been experiencing this polar vortex thing, which apparently plays havoc with broadband internet lines, and I assume cable as well. So
yeah, I was so surprised when you said your internet was down. I was like, oh, it's cold.
Yeah. It's been down all week, actually. And so that's what's behind our delayed show. But we still got it done, and we're actually running off of my phone. So if the show suddenly cuts out, that's what's going on. But I think that we're going to be able to make it through this.
It snows once here, and like 3/4 of students in every single one of my classes are gone. And my professors are like, well, I'm glad you guys made it here safe. It's slippery out there today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they have no idea.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a different environment completely. There's probably like one old guy that runs the snowplow in London. It's like an old-timey steampunk snowplow or something like that. That's what I picture in my head.
If they had even one snowplow, I would be surprised.
Runs off a boiler, yeah.
Literally.
Well, before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the more news that we've gotten this week about new Trek shows. Star Trek czar Alex Kurtzman, a.k.a. The Kurtz, has been doing interviews for the Television Critics Association, and he's got some updates on the new Trek shows. The announced Georgiou show is still in development with a tentative release date sometime in 2021, and apparently it will show how Section 31 goes from, like we see in Discovery, an acknowledged branch of Starfleet, a special operations secret branch, to the completely unknown, like legendary Black Ops organization that we see in DS9. Which is a question that I've had.
Oh my God. I was just talking about this today about how nervous I am about all of the shows.
Yeah. Nervous.
It's like they just it's like a clown car.
Yes, exactly. A clown shuttlecraft.
Like,
yes.
Yeah, I'm like, this is
the
a
Galileo
lot
70, yeah.
of stuff. Yeah, like how many like Star Trek TV shows have been running like on the air at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. There's been like 2, right?
Right.
So, and now we're going to have like 6, and
And the way that they're going to combat that, as much as they've really got into that or talked about it, I think, is, staggering them in release so that they won't be on at the same time necessarily. And then, of course, just the wide variety of issues, characters they're tackling, having animated shows, having a more kid-oriented, maybe family-friendly show in Starfleet Academy. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like they've got a plan, but I don't think anybody's done anything really like this before.
No. And see, I think CBS just wants to they're like, oh, people are paying attention to disco, like, go, like, find all the nerds, and they're just trying to do as much as they can. But I hope that, like, they get all the right people and they have everything under control, because I think when you announce 5 shows at once, it can go downhill very fast.
Yes, and it can make diehard fans nervous, but diehard fans will also stick with it, I think, like I'm going to. He also said, the Kurtz, that the Picard series would be, it'd show the next chapter of Picard's life after Starfleet and present a very different character than we remember. And on Twitter, Patrick Stewart himself has said that it's very important to him, just being involved in this show, that it covers new territory for the character. And he also described the show as a 10-hour movie. So
Oh man.
a lot of serialization and telling a story, from beginning to end.
Hmm. I feel
And
like we're getting a lot more of that now too, where it's like this condensed. It's like it's very much like high television, like HBO,
yes,
like a
uh,
10 episode series, but it's like just on TV.
yeah. The Kurtz
Yeah.
also announced 2 additional upcoming short treks that will be in animated format. This will be similar, but not the same to the Lower Decks show. One will be directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, and I practiced that so hard and still screwed it up. He's the director of tonight's episode. And the other will be directed by Incredibles composer Michael Giacchino.
Oh
What he really
my
wants to do
God.
is direct. Academy Award winning composer. But so this will be a new avenue, a new opportunity for him. So that'll be interesting to see. But tonight we have seen the 3rd episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Point of Light, and we're here to break it down for you. And before we start, as always, we're setting a course for the spoiler zone. Listeners, so be warned, we're glad you decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for Point of Light is: a surprise visitor to the USS Discovery brings shocking news about Spock and dredges up past regrets for Burnham. Following the asteroid incident, Tilly struggles to keep a grip on her reality. L'Rell's authority on Kronos is threatened. This episode was written by Andrew Colville, a staff writer for Discovery on Season 2. He also serves as a co-executive producer for this season, and he previously wrote and produced for the AMC series Turn, Washington Spies. And the episode is directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi. Got it better that time. He previously directed The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry and the short trek Calypso. And fun fact, running a half marathon, as Tilly and the other trainees do in this episode, presumably around Discovery's saucer section, and based on a 225-meter diameter of the saucer, would take you 29 times around, 29 and 3/4 laps around the saucer. I'm not a math guy. That's what I got based on the stated length of the crossfield class at 750.5 meters from stem to stern. My question is, do they wear black-soled tennis shoes when they run? Because I imagine some poor cadet is going to be scrubbing a lot of smudges off of the deck plate with all that running going on. Remember in gym in high school, you had to wear non-black-soled shoes. And I'm like, what kind of kid is going to... Do they mean just like if your Air Jordans are black? Like some kid's going to come in like dress shoes or wingtips or something like that? Play a little dodgeball?
Oh man.
And it's something that we've seen. I mean, I think the circular sort of pattern and the 2 circles, the rotating circles on Discovery are very distinct, and I think they're emphasizing that. But every saucer section, there must be some long corridor. So we could have seen in the past, like on TNG or something, or even on DS9, people doing this jogging thing. But I like it. It's a nice element. We never see them doing any PT, and this is an Army, this is a Navy.
We've seen people jog past on other shows, haven't we? Am I making that up?
Maybe. It just seems like they were so excited about the holodeck that everybody just does everything
Yeah.
there, playing spring ball or whatever it is. Well, as far as this episode itself goes, I feel like we have to go back to the old... remember when we used to say, for every episode, this episode is the new best episode?
Yes.
Well, this episode, I think, is the new best episode, or at least my new favorite episode. And it is, there is quite a lot going on. And this is the first time for me, and I want to get your thoughts in a second, but it's the first time for me that Discovery has really started to lean into being WTF Trek. And and I like it. People talk about Trek shows finding their own lanes, and finding their own voice. And this just seems to be the show where every week something is happening, and you're like, what is going on? And I like that. I'm finally riding the wave of chaos instead of just being like, what's this? What's this? What did you think of Point of Light?
I liked it. It was a lot this week. Whenever I look at Ash, I get so mad. And I do like, as a concept, I like his character. He is conflicted. He's complicated. He's Ash and he's not Ash. He's Vogue and he's not Vogue. He's both of them. He's neither. And I think it's like fantastic and it's interesting to see him like as a human in these Klingon like scenarios. Yeah. But when I look at his face, I'm angry.
And it's not just the man bun, right?
No. Although, I mean, I was more irritated by the beard than the man bun, to be honest. I was
Sure.
like, that's a little long.
Yeah. He's got a home kombucha brewing business he's trying to get off the ground.
Oh my God.
Um, the Klingons, of course, return in this episode, and they I just don't know what to say. I'm going to say wow a lot in this episode, I think, but just wow. Like everything about what we see on Kronos looks great. Then the Klingon High Council chamber looks amazing. I hope they have a good sprinkler system in case of any accidents. But yeah, I mean, that's great. Immediately setting up, the new threat on the Klingon side, what's going on. We meet Kolsha, who is Cole's dad, I guess, or his uncle or something. How is he related to... to Cole. He was Cole's dad.
Yeah.
He's got that same paint, and so of course the paint is his big thing. And then having to see like Tyler be like, "Come on, bro, come on, I'll fight you right now." Like,
that was honestly so funny. It's just so. It's like Klingons are already so like almost like hyper masculine, and then to have just like this dude with a bun and a beard being like, take it off, dude.
Yeah. I'm Clem Fandango, let's do this, come on. And we see it just a little like, this is the kind of like canon like drop in that I don't really mind. Like we see them go, hey, we're a new regime and we've got a new present for everybody. It's the new D7 cruiser. And so bam, we've got the ship that we know. We'll probably start seeing that going forward on Discovery. That's fine. I also liked a little thing where you've got this thing where L'Rell is the chancellor, and then she's got this torchbearer, like her second, who is a human guy, and it sort of presages, Picard acting as Chadich for Worf later on in TNG. So, and that didn't go over all that well. I guess it went okay. But they're still not really accepting of him, and we see a lot. I thought they did a good job of building up the kind of paranoia that he experiences, where he opens a door and there's a bunch of guys, and if they were talking and now they're not, he's like, "You saying something about me? What's going on? Why'd you stop talking?"
Oh God, just a map. First of all, everything is so dark. It's like you can't imagine you're living there. You can't see anything.
Yeah.
Everyone else is Klingon, and like in your heart of hearts or whatever, like that you're a Klingon, but he still refers to Voq in the third person. So it's like he doesn't think he's like. I just can't even. This is like so stressful.
Yeah, he wants it so bad, but even those little. Referring to him in third person, and it kind of betrays that he's divided. And I do like how, of course, the huge bombshell that we get in this episode is Klingon baby.
Oh my God.
Which that was like, I tend to you see previews and you tend to kind of expect like what's going to happen in an episode, and they did a good job. Like that, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh man.
Same. I mean, I say this every time, but I never know what's coming. And I was very surprised all the way up to until the literal shot of the baby. I was like, what is that, a chair? What? I couldn't even figure out what it was.
She's been keeping this chair from me.
Yeah,
I have to wonder. I have to wonder if the kid's got no name, and the kid has white skin, and they're giving him away to somebody else. So I have to wonder if they're just setting up that this guy will become the albino that we see in DS9. I don't care. I'm not tracking it, but it does seem like that could be a possibility.
I hadn't thought of that at all.
Also, just a quick note. We might have talked about like parentage and how families work on this show or on Enterprising Individuals, but they both ditched that kid real fast. You know what I mean?
Just quick.
Yeah.
Quick.
And I have to wonder, in the 23rd or 24th century, where I'm sure they're okay with, a village raising a child, are there a lot of parents in the galaxy that are like, yeah, not really the time for me? And then, of course, orphanages, because it's the 24th century, you've got unlimited resources and a lot of people with time and willing to help. You could be raised okay in like a group home.
What is the Planned Parenthood of the 20th century?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And if you've just got like that stuff, there's stuff I haven't done yet. We'll just drop my kid off at kids' timeout for the next 10 years, and then maybe I'll see him again.
Beam it down. I was like, can we? Oh, just a baby in a transporter beam? I was like, that makes me kind of. I don't really like that.
Hashtag transport that baby. Yeah.
You can't even like take it down in a shuttle. Come on.
Yes. We also see that Laurel, I really like their relationship. I think that they've done a good job continuing to lengthen the sides, if you will, of this love triangle. And you see that Tyler and Laurel have a complicated relationship. She cares about him, but he's kind of a kept man. She's treating him kind of as a pet. And then even when she does try to get close to him, he's like, I still kind of like the Tyler part of me feels like that when we get together.
She's so offended, but like,
yeah,
she's the one who implanted those memories in him. You know what I mean? Like, she was like, you know what the backstory will be? It'll be that I assaulted you on a daily basis.
Right.
And then when he's like, I don't like when you touch me, I freak out. And she is just like, I have to go.
Yeah, right. And then immediately he's like, okay, all right, I'll do it. Like, I'll be with you forever. That's what we're going to do. Even though we know that, I love it when characters like say things that they don't really mean because they feel compelled to. Like, this is some great kind of character stuff. Which would take us to, let's leave Section 31 for the end here. That would take us to Burnham. Of course, Burnham contacts Tyler Vuk in this episode. And they do a great job in that sort of hollow call where they show sort of both sides of it. And then they have that great composite shot near the end where they're like kind of both in the same room, but it's like half and half a room.
That was gorgeous.
Yeah, that looks great. And they're still trying to work out what's happening between them. And she's looking for advice from him, and it's a call that they probably shouldn't have made because, of course, it gets him in trouble. It kind of accelerates, like Burnham tends to do, kind of accelerates and complicates the conflict for him on Kronos.
Which, I mean, what did he expect to happen?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Although, the like paint sensor thing was a surprise, but like,
how could he know the paint was bugged? There's no way you could have known that. That's crazy. Back on Discovery, we've got Tilly immediately dealing with the problem of May that we saw last week. And I think it's really great. I think it's probably evidential of the fact that this will all play out this second season week to week. But they definitely planned the first 6 episodes first. And so I think that we're going to get a lot of things dealt with kind of, within the first 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, I'm so happy they took care of that spore thing because it's been driving me insane.
They could have dragged that out forever, yeah.
Because I was like, I guess that shot means nothing. Like, I was getting so mad because I was like, there's a gun on the mantle and somebody has to shoot it. Like, that's the rule. Why did they do a close-up of that specific thing? I was really
Chekhov's
like...
spore, yeah.
Oh my God, but... Finally.
Yeah, and having like a character see something or have hallucinations. I mean, that could go a whole season. But
definitely.
I like the fact that what I love so far about the show and definitely about this season is that they are really trying to explore the ideas of mental illness, and they're doing it. That
is what I was going to bring up. I'm consistently so impressed with them because it's not like this like uncomfortable, almost like kids show where they're like. Sometimes you feel sad. I got
problems. Don't talk to me.
2 weeks, and then it's time to see a doctor.
Yeah.
But like Tilly in this episode, like she's not technically like sick, right? She doesn't have like a mental ill. She's under like strain, but it's not like she's not having a quote unquote real hallucination, right? Because it's the like alien that's appearing to her.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a sci-fi trope. It's a sci-fi representation of, it stands in for something like delusions or something like that.
Yeah. And then when she was talking to Michael about it, and like she just like broke down and was like, I'm desperate. I need like something's wrong with I see her, that I was so like moved and obviously her performance was fantastic, but yeah, it's like they keep bringing this back up where like with Tyler just being constantly screwed up, or like
Right.
Saru always being nervous. Like, I just think it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good argument for a counselor on a ship, but
It really is.
it does show that their relationship has really developed. That she could, feel so distraught and have this thing that happens on the bridge, and then she just kind of comes to Michael and goes, oh, "Here it is. I don't even know what to do, but I know I can tell you." And then I like the fact that that Burnham just logics her way out of it. She's like,
Yeah.
all right, well, let's look at this thing here. You've got these delusions, but they have information or whatever that they couldn't, or she doesn't know what crying is, which doesn't make any sense because if it came from your mind. And so, yeah, the Vulcan psychologist, it works out perfectly.
I also loved how she was so, like, remember the first episode where she meets Tilly?
Yeah.
And Tilly's like, the only female Michael I know is Michael Burnham. You're not her.
Right.
And Michael's like, dear God. And
Yeah.
then to hear where she's like, Tilly, tell me what's wrong right now. Like, just like the amount of emotion that was coming out of her. I was like, I'm so proud of you.
Character growth.
Like, you're
That's what
making
we want.
friends.
That's what we want. Yeah. So that plays out. Then it gets like a little Ghostbuster-y. like they
Oh
draw
my,
this
honestly.
this creature out of her. Yeah. Which that we've kind of left with a cliffhanger, but it's fine. We'll just be back next week and we'll get more
Yeah, that
information
thing
about
is
what
just
that is.
like in a force field bubble.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. That's pretty tidy to be able to just wrap it up in a force field like that. So we'll get back.
Which it's a little, I feel nobody seems to be nervous, like as nervous as they should be about this like alien like spore, like about this alien like fungus from a different universe that can like just grow inside of your chest and cause you to have hallucinations, and it had some sort of agenda of its own, like, and nobody is super concerned. They're like, Stamets is like, well, this might hurt, and Saru is like, hey, like, throw a force field around that, I guess. It's like, I feel like this is a bigger issue here. This seems like some sort of quarantine has been broken.
It's almost quitting time. Come on, let's wrap this up.
For
Here.
real. Oh man.
Well, they're professionals. They'll deal with it. We get Amanda in this episode, standing in for what we thought was going to be Sarek, but it was good to see Amanda, and it's good to see. If it had been Sarek, it would have been him and Burnham just not really saying anything to each other, and then eventually saying something to each other. So it was good to see more of a connection between them, and we learn more about the mystery. What's going on here? Apparently, Spock killed some guys and like got away. So we're trying to figure out if he himself is under some sort of mental illness or a different state of consciousness, or if he's being influenced by something, and what this Red Angel is, and how it ties into what happened to Michael Burnham when she was young, and being caught in the logic extremists bombing. So we're getting. It looks like we're digging more into the backstory of what we had from season 1 as far as our characters go.
Yeah, I think someone knows something, and it wasn't like Spock being like, "Oh, I'm going crazy. I have these dreams. Like, let me check myself into the mental hospital," because I think Spock is a little bit too dumb and definitely too stubborn for that. And I think it was more of he figured something out, and somebody was like, "Hey, guess where you're going? The freak ward, like, have fun." And then that's why he had to, like, he's trying to escape. You know what I mean? Like, he killed those people because they're holding him because he has information. I have no idea what the information could possibly be.
Yeah.
Because nothing makes any sense. But
yeah, I'm
I
trying
think
to.
it's a conspiracy.
Well, it definitely is, and you have to wonder if it's the type of thing where the people in charge know more than they're saying. Pike talks to his admiral friend, and he's like, "Well, he's classified. I can't really talk about that." And so we have to kind of work on this mystery without the help of the powers that be. But that's what makes a good detective story usually. And it's weird too, because we know just 3 episodes in, we know that whatever the angel is, it seems to have a penchant for helping people or saving people, or at least in a way that
at least
thinks.
Burnham.
Yeah, Burnham, and also
because that means that makes twice it saved Burnham now, right? Or it appeared the one time,
right?
and saved her the first time, theoretically, because it told Spock where she was.
And the inhabitants of New Eden as well. So that's its sort of thing, and we still don't know. I mean, it's red, the lights are red. I think we can assume that there's some kind of connection, but we still don't know what's going on with it.
Yeah, I have absolutely zero idea.
Well, let's talk about our favorite empress that we hate to love or love to hate. Giorgio is back now. Now, I guess, just again, Captain Giorgio, working for Section 31. And she comes in fairly near to the end of the episode. After a pretty cool fight, she turns it up a notch and just explodes everybody. And she's ready to go. And I like the idea that, at least at this point in their history, they do kind of act like the CIA. Like, specifically in this case, they're watching out for L'Rell and her new administration because they realize if she's under a lot of pressure, and if she fails, they're trying to prevent the Klingon Empire from becoming a failed state, basically, and they're trying to intervene to keep it going so there isn't chaos. And she's willing to do quite a bit. And I like how she talks to L'Rell, and she's like, okay, so number one, we got to kill Tyler. Yeah. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. We got to kill this baby. You're going to kill a baby? No, you're not going to do that either? Okay, so I guess I'll give you the next best thing, which is extremely lifelike heads. Or
can we talk about the baby head?
Yeah, they got a baby head.
I get that they're Klingon, but that like Mary Chieffo, just like a baby head in her palm. I feel like I get that it's an internet show, so it's edgy, but like I feel like that's a little much.
One more and she can juggle. Just get the other guy's head in there. Yeah, that was intense. But you'd never see that on TNG. But it's the kind of intensity that would convince a Klingon, I think.
True.
Yeah,
it was very in character, but I was watching it and I was like, is this like okay? Like, are people gonna be salty?
Yeah. So problem taken care of as far as we know for now, although like all good empires based on lies. And of course she tells them to call her mother. So I'm not sure if she's Mother L'Rell now, but
badass thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. I'm the mommy.
I loved that line.
But it was cool. There's a lot of political theater in all interactions of the Klingon Empire, and I thought that was right in character. What do you think about? So we see Giorgio go back to her ship, and I think that guy that she talks to is the same guy who recruited her in season 1, right? I'm not familiar with the.
Oh, I don't know.
But it seems like this is the Section 31 ship. Looks like Tyler's on board after he drops Son of None off on that monk world. Are we getting a preview of the Giorgio show? Is this kind of a backdoor pilot?
I mean, I don't know about a backdoor pilot, but it's like now I feel like, is Ash going to be in the show? Like, is he going to become part of her crew? And then the show is going to be Giorgio and Ash, and then like the rest of the 31 crew or whatever. Like, I have no idea where they're going with it.
That would be cool. I don't want to see him separated for too long from Michael Burnham, but I do think, again, like we said, like they're not doing that thing where they can just milk things forever. They have this triangle that's tense and is politically inconvenient for this ruler, and so they go, the solution is we'll just get rid of it. And so now he's not with her and on his own. And that's just something that I'm really enjoying about this new season, is that I think they're willing to build up to something in like a Game of Thrones style, for instance, have these long running scenarios, but instead of just having, and I love Game of Thrones, but instead of having the imp just sit and drink for 6 episodes and just keep saying things, they're like, here's a problem, here's a solution, but it doesn't solve everything. And so the next episode will have to deal with the next part of the solution. Like, they're doing a pretty good job of that. Yeah.
Also, I love how much effort Giorgio is putting into seeming like Captain Philippa Giorgio as opposed to Emperor Giorgio. Like, literally nothing. Like, she does not care. Like, that second where Ash was like, are you, like, I don't think, and she was like, what are you talking about? I'm Captain Philippa Giorgio. Like,
I love telescopes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty great. What'd you think about the new look of the Klingons?
I'm I really they would have to do something really drastic for me to be upset at all about the look of the
Yeah,
Klingons. Like,
yeah,
um, I think I probably like it more than the initial design, just because it's a little bit more reminiscent of TOS, I feel like.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've never really been hooked on what they look like, I feel.
I have. I'm just not. I don't have an eye for detail, and so when people complain about specific changes or whatever, I don't ever really know what they're talking about. Um,
Kind of same.
so as long as it's consistent, it doesn't. It doesn't really bother me. And I thought that they look good. Some the costumes are great, and some of the just the like I love their hair was great. Um,
Hmm.
that near the end, she's got that like scaled dragon looking
Oh
like
my God, I couldn't stop
headdress.
staring at that.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was really great. And you knew that they knew what they had because they started with that the whole like, oh, the world's flipping upside down shot, but it starts from her back, so we just
Hmm.
get to see it from all angles when it comes down. And yeah, thumbs up.
Which, speaking of Game of Thrones, gosh, with the dragon scales and her saying for her to call them mother, because that's what people call Daenerys.
Well, now I don't like it. It's too far. Uh, no, there might be some influence there, but let's just yeah, it's just a coincidence.
I do think it is a coincidence.
I'm surprised that so Game of Thrones is like done shooting now, right? Or
Definitely.
I think they're close. So I'm surprised that we don't see, or maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. But there's a lot of talented actors and character actors there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them pop up in some of these new shows, Star Trek shows.
Oh, I hope so.
You got to get that
Sophie
big.
Turner was out having tea with her husband at this place that I really want to go to. And when I read the article, I was so mad because I was like, I could have been there today.
That I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy with the big guy with the beard, who plays the character whose name I can't remember on Game of Thrones, but like he'd be good. Get him in like a Klingon or something.
The big guy with the beard.
The big guy, he's got the big red bushy beard, and he does those hotel commercials. We have different commercials in America, I guess. He's a wildling or something.
Starts with the T. Yes, okay. I know who you're talking about.
Let's say Torvald. How about that? That's a good Scandinavian
It's something
name.
like it's something really close to that.
Well, anyway, let's get him in there. Don't shave the beard. Keep it. Just have a red-haired Klingon.
You can just have a stare down with Ash.
Yeah, right.
Oh man. The other thing about the Klingon designs is it's like if you look at like how different just like one person can look from another person,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I don't really care if the Klingons look different because like there's a whole planet full of them. You know? Like
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it looks like and again, this isn't something that I really needed fixed, but it looks like they are, they're laying a lot of groundwork to having this idea of 24 houses and sort of getting them all together. And it's like, no, you guys, we don't wear face paint anymore. Start growing your hair out. We're going to use the same ships.
Mm-hmm.
We got to homogenize this thing. Get it back to, we got a multiculture. We got to get a monoculture. You know how this works. We got to live on a planet with one biome. That's how it works. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to say about the episode you haven't gotten to?
I don't know. I guess I wasn't super stressed though. The only time that I was stressed was when Tilly was having a breakdown in the middle of that command training exercise.
Yeah.
I like had my hands over my ears. Like if I don't hear it, it's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And we continue to have. It seems like Pike's just got a soft spot for her. Like he's, still.
I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, sure.
I really love that. I hope we get to see more of them doing those training exercises together, because that's really sweet.
And it's totally different from Lorca, of course, because Lorca probably didn't like her very much. Well, we've always usually looked forward to new episodes in the last part of our show. So what do you think? Any new ideas about what the lights are, who the angel is, where Spock is? What they're going to do with this Ghostbuster, this ghost that they aren't afraid of, that they've trapped?
I mean, I'm interested to see what that fungus thing wanted with Stamets, because she knew Stamets,
right.
Which I think she's confusing him with the Mir Stamets.
Oh, okay.
But since that spore is from the other universe,
yeah.
But it's so odd to me, because like an alien making someone hallucinate, that's like a monster of the week type TOS episode. But an alien that is making you hallucinate, and the hallucination has like an agenda, like the alien is trying to make something happen. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm very excited to see what it wants.
For me, it makes me wonder if, I don't know if this is good or bad, if the hue that that Stamets has been seeing in the network is not hue. It is merely like the aliens from Contact. Like, it seems beneficial, but it's taken on this face that he recognizes. And specifically in the moment where it encourages him, to be able to fly the ship through the network, it's like, I'll take this face because he trusts this person, and I want to help this guy. But then if he finds out later that it's just a face, then it's not going to be great.
No. I mean, I was always very suspicious of that sightings. But I don't know. Oof. Honestly, he really could. I also kind of expected them to have Mir Colbert back by now.
Oh yeah.
I didn't expect them to have that character gone for so long. We haven't really touched on Stamets that much this season yet.
Yeah. I mean, he's in the opening credits now, isn't he? Hugh Culber, Wilson Cruz. So, yeah, he'll have to be coming back in some form soon. So that's our prediction. He is coming back soon.
Maybe next week will be a Stamets episode.
Maybe next week. We'll see. Well, I think that's it for our show this week. So thanks for joining us, listeners. If you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTpod for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals, which, as I mentioned last week and I'll mention again this week, is back on Wednesday of next week. That is the 6th, so tune in for that. And you can also get notification when Discoverage episodes are released, which will be going forward on Thursdays, assuming there's internet. God willing, and the creek don't rise and the temperature don't fall. And you can tweet to us on the show during the show by using the hashtag Discoverage, or you can email us at eistpod@gmail.com. And when you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform or podcatcher of choice and subscribe to our show, give us a rating, and give us a review if you think of it, because that really does help us out. And you can check out our merch. We've got merch at TeePublic. If you go to tpublic.com/user/JustEnoughTrope, that's our parent network, you can find our snazzy Trek gear. Also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/EISTpod. And as always, if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on February 7th for the next episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. That episode is called An Obol for Charon. Wow, these titles. And will feature the return of the Enterprise and the debut of Rebecca Romaine as number 1. I'm looking forward to that. You?
Oh my gosh. So excited.
Yeah, that's going to be great. In the meantime, you can check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. On that show, every week, I and a guest discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Trek sphere, updates on Star Trek Discovery, and interviews with special guests. And now's a great time to catch up. Like I said, new shows start next week. Check it out, enterprisingindividuals.com. Ella, thanks for joining me on the show. Where can people find Generations Geek online?
Generations Geek on Twitter and Instagram. And my other half of the show, my father, is actually in London right now with me. So there's going to be lots
Oh,
of fun pictures coming up on the Instagram.
awesome. Great. So, Instagram Generations Geek.
Hmm.
All right. Well, that's it for us. Thanks for listening, listeners. We're signing off. And this is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.